Welcome to this explainer. If you've only been looking at a simplified economy with just households and businesses, you're honestly missing half the picture. Today, we're going to upgrade that basic economic model. We're going to bolt on some seriously powerful new components, specifically government and foreign sectors, to see exactly how they change the speed of our macroeconomic engine. It's time to build a fully functional, real-world machine. Let's dive in.
Here is our blueprint for today. First, government spending injections. Second, the tax leakage. Third, adding the foreign sector. Fourth, the complex multiplier. And finally, testing the math. We'll build this mathematical machine piece by piece so it all makes perfect logical sense.
Section 1. Government Spending Injections. Let's start with our very first major upgrade, an essential fuel injection for the economy.
To really understand how our machine works, we first need to set some foundational ground rules. We have to contrast autonomous parts that just run completely independently against induced parts that react to the engine's speed. Basically, an autonomous variable does its own thing. It literally doesn't care if the economy is booming or busting. But an induced variable, that is directly tied to the national income, which we call Y. So as the overall economy speeds up, those induced variables speed up right alongside it. Now, what's really fascinating here is that government spending, or G, is driven by political decisions, meaning it is entirely autonomous. Imagine a perfectly flat horizontal line. Whether the total income of a country is $0 or $1 trillion, the government has set its budget and is spending that predetermined amount. It absolutely does not fluctuate systematically with Y. And because it's autonomous, injecting government spending lifts the entire aggregate spending line straight up. That vertical jump establishes a higher equilibrium level of income while leaving the multiplier itself completely unchanged. We haven't altered the mechanics of the engine, we've simply pumped in more baseline fuel.
Section 2. The tax leakage. But of course, every engine needs brakes, right? In our macroeconomic model, that braking force comes in the form of taxes.
If government spending is the fuel injection, taxes are the exhaust. By definition, they are leakage. They siphon money right out of the circular flow. Think about your own paycheck for a second. Taxes are deducted before that money even hits your bank account. This indirectly reduces total consumption because households simply have less disposable income, represented as YD, available to actually spend in the wider economy.
So here is the crucial point. Unlike government spending, taxes are generally induced, meaning as total income grows, the tax leakage grows right along with it on an upward trajectory. This represents the tax function, where t equals lowercase t times y, with that lowercase t being the tax rate. So say you have an income of 500 and a tax rate of 0.2. Your tax leakage is exactly 100. Basically, the richer the economy gets, the heavier the tax breaks are applied. And when you map this out geometrically, taxes actually change the physical slope of our spending line. They flatten it out. Because people have less disposable income out of every single new dollar earned, the slope, which is tied to how much people consume, drops. This acts as a massive brake that reduces both the equilibrium level of income and the multiplier itself.
Section 3. Adding the foreign sector. Now, let's open up our national borders and introduce the rest of the world to our equation. Since no modern economy exists in a vacuum, the foreign sector adds a really interesting push and pull. We measure this through net exports, which is exports minus imports, or X minus Z. Exports act as another autonomous fuel injection, simply because they're determined by global competitiveness and exchange rates, not by our own domestic income. Imports, however, act as a leakage. They drain money away to other countries, and crucially, they are induced. The higher our national income is, the more foreign goods we can afford to buy. That's why import spending rises systematically with Y. Section 4. The complex multiplier. All right, having installed government spending, taxes, exports, and imports, it's time to assemble the ultimate blueprint of our economic machine. Here is the fully expanded multiplier algebraically. I know, at first glance, it looks a bit like alphabet soup, but let's break down the logic. The multiplier, alpha, equals 1 divided by all this stuff, in the brackets. The C is the marginal propensity to consume, how much of a new dollar people spend. But pay close attention to the tax rate, T, and the marginal propensity to import, M. They are sitting right down there in the denominator, actively working against the multiplier effect. They are the leakages, diluting the power of every single new dollar injected into the system. In fact, this quote straight from the source material is vital. The larger the size of M, the smaller is the multiplier. The more an economy imports, the more money leaks out across borders, which significantly dampens the overall multiplier effect of any new domestic spending.
Think about it. If a government stimulus check just goes straight toward buying imported electronics, the domestic engine doesn't get the full benefit of that fuel. Section 5. Testing the math. It's time to take our newly assembled Keynesian equation for a test drive using some real algebraic values.
Let's look at these given parameters for a theoretical economy. We have a consumption function, autonomous investment at 250, government spending at 150, and flat autonomous taxes at 100. Our goal here is to find the equilibrium level of income. Why? Let's walk through exactly how to derive this so you aren't overwhelmed by the math.
By sequencing the derivation step by step, we can intuitively see what happens. We start with our core identity, y equals c plus I plus g. We just drop our numbers in. The really critical step is step 3, where we distribute the 0.6 across the income minus taxes. This gives us our total autonomous spending block of 400 on one side and 0.4y on the other. When we divide 400 by 0.4, we arrive at our final total income of 1,000. It's amazing to see how an initial spending block of 400 is amplified by the multiplier into an economy worth 1,000.
And this mathematical result is perfectly grounded in geometric reality. Exactly where aggregate spending intersects the 45-degree line, that is our equilibrium. The math perfectly matches the visual model at an income of 1,000.
Now for the final test of our machine. What happens when we push the gas pedal just a little bit harder? Let's say we inject 50 more units of government spending, taking G from 150 to 200. The math tells us national income rises to 1125. So based on this change, what is the true power of our machine's multiplier?
The multiplier is exactly 2.5. We find this by taking the change in income, which went up by 125, and dividing it by the change in government spending, which went up by 50. 125 divided by 50 is 2.5. This means every single dollar of new autonomous spending ripples through our economy to create $2.50 of total income. That is the macroeconomic engine at work.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a crucial warning straight from the source material. When diagnosing economic shifts, you always need to read the scenario carefully. Ask yourself, are you tracking the delta, the change in equilibrium income, or are you looking for the new destination, the final level of income? Confusing the two is literally the easiest way to crash the engine. So the next time you hear a politician promise $1 billion in new spending, I want you to ask yourself, what are our tax leakages, what is our propensity to import, and what will the final multiplied impact truly be? Thanks for exploring the macroeconomic engine with me today.